All right, y'all. I've never seen anything like this in my life, and I never thought I would. Like, how could you even imagine that this would even be possible? You can see blood in the streets from space in Sudan. You can see blood stained on the streets in the sand in Sudan from satellite images from space. I just need y'all to think about that for a second, because I understand the temptation. What's the temptation? The temptation is to just not think about it because it's so horrible. It's so disgusting. It's so unbelievable. And it's not our immediate reality. So because it's not our immediate reality, we choose not to think about it. But that does not mean that it's not somebody else's actual reality right now, because it is. This is people's reality in Sudan. They are being massacred to the point where we can see it from satellite images from space. Not just the blood, but you can also see what's happening with these individuals after they're being massacred. They're just being piled up in clusters. And we can see those clusters from space. Could you imagine how many people have to be piled up like that? Like how many thousands and thousands have to be piled up like that in order to see it from space? Like, I saw a video, who was it from? I think Stuart. Yeah, I saw this video from Stuart Connectly. He's speaking on the situation that's happening in Sudan, but he also shared a story of a woman who lost her life. And I want you guys to listen to it.
Sudan right now is horrific. There's a recent story of a woman who was shot. She was dead. And one of the perpetrators said, "Oh, rise yourself, resurrect yourself," after she had been shot. That's the clear picture of what's going on over there. The worst humanitarian crisis probably in 25 years. Kids are drinking mud water before they get shot. What are we going to do as believers? Number one, pray by yourselves. Number two, pray with others. Number three, speak up and speak out as much as possible. That goes a lot further than we realize. Next, don't be desensitized by it. Don't naturalize it. This is death. This is the worst type of injustice imaginable. So when you scroll, catch yourself and say, what am I going to do? Share videos, talk about it. Don't be the confessing church, for example, during World War II, when Hitler came to power and they got scared and didn't say anything and said, let's just go along with our merry lives as is. Speak up, speak out for our brothers and sisters, and let's make a change together. Sudan.
But you know what the truth is? Excuse me. The truth is a lot of us are just simply desensitized. And what can we do about that? We can pray to God. We can ask God to unharden our hearts in that area. Because here's what happens. Especially with social media, we see so much negativity on a daily basis. We are digesting so much negativity on a daily basis. What are we to do? We're only humans. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm just being real. We're only humans. So what are we going to do? Sit here and think about the negativity all day long and just constantly be in this state of depression and just overwhelmed by all the wickedness that's going on? Or are we going to choose to not think about it and move on with our day? That's what we've learned how to do. That's what we've learned how to do. And I think it's also happening at a subconscious level because there's so much information being thrown at us. So we're choosing not to think about these things. But that does not mean that they're not happening. They are happening. And unfortunately, it takes crazy stuff like this in order to get us to wake up. Because this has been happening in Sudan for a very long time, pretty much forever. But we just think it's normal. It's like, oh, it's Sudan. That's just what happens there. Oh, it's Nigeria. That's just what happens there. That's what we have been trained to think at this point. But we really need to take a step back and be like, yo, this stuff is just simply not okay. There's no way to slice it. There's no way to slice it. And it's so interesting because you can see the cycles of sin very clear and evident in what's going on. So just a very quick context, and there's no way that I can explain to you everything that's going on because I'm simply not the person to do that. But I'll give you a very quick context. You have Bashir, who is at the top, former leader, dictator, whatever you want to call him. Definitely a dictator, but he was a leader of Sudan. Previous to that position, though, he was a military general, and he actually overthrew the previous leader, president. I don't know the correct term. He overthrew that person before he came into power. So that's how he got the power. And he said, yo, I have to move smarter than the last person who was in power. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the armed forces, the SAF, the Sudanese armed forces. I'm going to make sure that they protect me. And then I'm also going to have this other separate military force called the RSF. And I'm going to have them protect me as well. So if I have these two groups of militaries protecting me, there's no way that they will ever overthrow me. The people simply can't overthrow me. But the one thing that he didn't account for was that the RSF and the SAF, the two militaries, he never thought that they would come together and overthrow him. And that's exactly what happened. They came together and they overthrew him. And now they're fighting amongst themselves. So the RSF and the SAF are now fighting because they want power. And you know what's interesting? Sudan has a lot of resources. This is not just about, you know, the position and the title of being in power. This is political, it's spiritual. There's a lot of elements that go into it. Sudan has a lot of resources. They have a lot of gold. Sudan imports a lot of gold to the UAE to the tune of billions of dollars. And a lot of it is untracked because a lot of it is happening under the table. So you can't track it, but it's happening. So you have some very wealthy individuals who are fighting for even more wealth, for even more power, and even more control. And they're willing to literally sacrifice the people of Sudan in order to stay in power. So that's just a little bit of what's happening. I want to play a video from Sell Africa to Africans. It's a YouTube channel. They posted a video called The Untold Truth About the Sudan War. And Ahmed Caballo is breaking down what's happening in Sudan. And I want you to listen to what he's saying because it's very, very interesting. All right, let's play it.
So what he thought is, if I have this private militia of 100,000 men.
So he's talking about the former president who we're talking about, Bashir.
The army won't dare to overthrow me because they're going to have this 100,000 men that will protect me. Yeah. Even the word Hemeti comes from my protector. So it was a nickname that Bashir gave Hemeti as my protector. What he didn't envision was the RSF would join forces with the armed forces and do a coup against him together.
Okay.
Yeah. But then after the coup, Burhan, he formed something called the Sovereign Council, and he makes Hemeti his number 2. Yeah. So he's the chief of the Sovereign Council.
Okay.
Hemeti's number 2. But then now there's a tension. So you have an army of 150,000 men, and you have a private militia of 100,000 men, all within the capital city. You can feel the tension because these are greedy generals. Yeah, they've divided the spoils of the country. The Sudanese army controls all the industry, import, exports, agriculture, factories, everything, rubber tires, everything. The RSF controls the gold mines, yeah, that primarily exist in Darfur, yeah. But Hemeti is a very ambitious person, yeah. He thinks I can become president of the whole of Sudan, yeah. He's backed by the UAE. This is where it gets interesting. So when Sudan was looking for some money after the South split, the UAE and Saudi Arabia said to them, we can get you back in the good books of the West. We can pay you if you provide foot soldiers for our Saudi UAE-led war on Yemen. So while the Saudis and the UAE are bombing from the sky, the Sudanese people
On the ground.
Dying, yeah? Dying. But while that war happened, there's a division between the Saudis and the UAE, yeah? The UAE have their man, which is Hemeti. The Saudis have their man, which was Burhan, who was leading the armed forces there, yeah? In Egypt have their man, which is Burhan. So the UAE are very interested in this port on Sudan, yeah? The Red Sea is one of the most fiercely contested strips of water anywhere in the world, yeah? Because it's right next to the Suez Canal, it's right next to the Gulf of Aden. So much of international shipping traffic goes through there. If you control the Red Sea, you can kind of control so much of international trade.
Wow.
So when the Yemenis are saying, until the genocide stops in Palestine, we're gonna stop ships from going through that bit. For a period, it crippled the international market. So the UAE is desperate to get control of that. It's also desperate to control the gold, yeah? So Sudan exports very little gold officially. Illegally, it's one of the biggest exporters in the world. And so much of that gold ends up in Dubai. And some of these wealthy Indians, wealthy Arabs go there and they buy their big bracelets and earrings for their wives. There's a thriving gold market, which is built off the back of Sudanese civilians that have been killed. So that is how the war started. However, now that the war has...
So, according to a lot of accounts, the UAE is supporting RSF. And that's because RSF, led by Hemeti, which, remember, Hemeti was put in place by Bashir. Hemeti was put in place by Bashir to protect him. Hemeti means my protection. So the protection that was put in place actually overthrew the individual that was supposed to be protected. And now this individual, Hemeti, who runs the RSF, is in control of so much of the gold production that happens. And that gold is going to the UAE, a lot of it, billions of dollars, right? It's very interesting because the TASIS spokesperson was on Al Jazeera. Now, for those of you who do not know, and this is a crazy clip, but TASIS is the Sudan Founding Alliance, and it's an alliance of Sudanese anti-governmental political factions and paramilitary forces formed in February of 2025. And the leader is Hemeti. So the leader of the Sudan Founding Alliance is Hemeti, who is the leader of the RSF, right? So the spokesperson for TASIS goes on Al Jazeera. This just happened. And he gets pressed. And I want to show you what he said, because he said it's all AI. He said all these images of what we're seeing, and I'm not even showing you a fraction of what is out there. There's some crazy stuff out there, but he's saying it's all AI. I want you to listen to this exchange that happened.
Well, joining us from Nyala in South Darfur is Ala Eldin Nugud. He's the spokesperson for the TASIS Alliance. That is a group that refers to itself as a transitional peace government aligned to the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. Sir, can I ask, how do you justify your message of peace when you are allied with the RSF, which is a paramilitary group whose troops have been accused of war crimes in the North Darfur state, including mass killings, summary executions and sexual assault of hundreds of women?
Okay, thank you, Marine, for having me on the show.
First of all, to say that immediately after Al-Fashir liberation from the terrorist jihadist Muslim Brotherhood, SAF, or what's called as Sudan Armed Forces, who erupted this war, and then even they contemplated much of the atrocities. There's a much of fake news and fake media campaign around what's happening in Al-Fashir. What's have been, you know,
Okay.
showed
I have to contradict you on that. There is satellite imagery analysis. There is hundreds of eyewitness survivor accounts. There is video evidence posted by RSF fighters themselves, and of course numerous reports from human rights organizations, including the UN. Are you saying all this information has been faked?
Much of it is fake. We did a press conference as an official spokesperson of the ASIS and the official spokesperson of the RSF, and we showed and explored all that fake media campaign using AI-generated photos, using AI-generated videos, and even they misuse some of the media channels. They misuse the videos of atrocities and Air Force strikes of the SAF against the civilians and posted as an RSF atrocities.
Okay, so just to be clear, so what you are
so
just to be clear, just to be clear,
time to explain, Marlene.
What I'm trying to understand is if you're saying this information has been fabricated, why are people fleeing Al-Fashir? Why are people fleeing Al-Fashir?
The people, actually, our forces, TASIS forces and the RSF helped to evacuate more than 800,000 civilians from Al-Fashir during the military operations. Right now, people are not fleeing Al-Fashir. Right now, people are staying in Al-Fashir because they...
To be fair, I mean, listen, he's denying everything. He's saying everything is AI, everything is fabricated, it's all a lie. He said we're helping people leave the area. We're not contributing to any of the danger. But to be fair, the top one, the dude with the dreads, that looks like AI. It looks like AI. I don't know if it is or not, but it looks like a similar format and a similar style to how these AI videos are produced and generated. You remember all those AI clips of like Moses and all the biblical characters and like all the like selfie style like Christian Bible character AI videos? It looks to a similar style to those videos. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if it was real, but it does look like AI. But as for the other stuff, the satellite images, I'm not sure how you could really fake that. I mean, you could put out images and say these are quote satellite images, but they actually do have the satellite images. So I don't know how you can fake that. But anyway, he's denying it. He's saying it's not happening. He's saying we're crazy. That's what he's saying. You know, it's also very interesting because this stuff is just all so political, because the resources that Sudan has is extremely rich. And this paints a picture of those resources just so we're all on the same page. And then we're going to get to a political component that people aren't really thinking about.
Sudan has gold deposits across various regions. These include the Red Sea Hills, the Nuba Mountains and Darfur. Then there's copper, found mainly in the Red Sea Hills and the Nuba Mountains. Copper is increasingly valuable because it is vital for the AI and tech boom. Sudan has uranium deposits in several areas, including the Nuba Mountains, Darfur and along the border with Central African Republic. Sudan also has significant iron ore deposits, particularly in Darfur, Kordofan and the Red Sea Hills.
So gold, copper, uranium, iron. So, I mean, gold is the obvious one, right? There's a lot of people benefiting from gold right now. Gold is at an all-time high, or at least it was. It might be down a little bit today, but it's gold has been consistently hitting all-time highs. So a lot of people are benefiting from gold right now. Copper is very interesting because you think about copper from an AI standpoint. Now think about the UAE, right? Because the UAE is said to be involved in this war to obtain control of the gold, right? And the resources. The copper is interesting from an AI standpoint because you remember this video right here? You remember this video? You remember this? You remember this? So the UAE and the United States, they just did some sort of AI deal. I don't know exactly the specifics of it, but they did a pretty massive AI deal recently. And now this is video of Trump visiting, and they threw him a whole celebration. And somebody has to explain to me what the hair situation is. I don't know what's going on with the hair. I also don't know why these girls like look like they're 10 and 11 and 12 years old. It's very strange. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to y'all culture and like that. I just want to know what the heck is going on because it looks very weird and predatory. Anyway, it's a lot more political than you think when it comes to what's going on in Sudan. It's a lot more political than you think. There's real wealth and power on the line. And when you have wealth and power, you have the potential for greed. And I'm always reminded of what 1 Timothy says. Now, obviously, this is written in the context of false teachers, but I think we can still use that and apply it to our understanding and our relationship with money, right? So 1 Timothy 6, let's go to verse 6. It says, "But godliness with contentment is great gain. For we brought nothing into the world, and we cannot take anything out of the world. But if we have food and clothing, with these we will be content." So here's something so interesting. We have people, millions of people, who do not have adequate food, who do not have adequate clothing, because we have a group of people who are so power, money, resource hungry that they are willing to strip the resources, the basic resources, food and clothing, from millions of people just so they could have more wealth and more billions of dollars. And they're still not content. They already have billions. And they're still not content. Right? It's just wild and it's crazy. Anyway, verse 9. "But those who desire to be rich fall into temptation, into a snare, into many senseless and harmful desires that plunge people into ruin and destruction. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evils. It is through this craving that some have wandered away from the faith and pierced themselves with many pangs." It's a very interesting verse. For the love of money is a root. I don't know if you've actually picked up a plant. I have a lot of plants in my house. I like plants. I'm kind of obsessed with plants. If you pick up a plant and like pull it out from the root, you can see the system of roots, and it's like a whole ecosystem. It's not just one. It's like multiple different roots that are all responsible for providing resources to the plant, right? So when it says the love of money is a root of all kinds of evils, that love of money that you have, it's going to extend and it's going to root itself into so many different areas of your life. And it's going to cause you to have all these evil desires within those areas. And that's what we see. We see this love of money. We see this desire for power. We see this inability to be content drive people into committing all types of acts of ruin and destruction. We see that. Crazy stuff, man. Let me know what you think. Get in my comments, like this video. I'm out, y'all.